All right, you know how we do it. We got to start with some live intro music. You know what I mean? And I always ask people to kind of jam and dance with me just a little bit, do a little something. Come on now. TEDx interview with Mr.
Hey,
Phillip Alexander, live
how's it
from North
going?
Carolina, right? Is that where you're joining us from?
Yes, sir. North
Unbelievable.
Carolina.
Very cool. I'm so glad you're joining us today.
Thank you for
Phillip,
having me.
everybody is, oh man, where do I start? You are a producer for ESPN Plus, you're a podcaster, you're an entrepreneur, you've written 2 books, and you've got 2 TEDx talks coming our way. I think it's safe to say you're a bit of an overachiever. Is that fair?
I like to set goals and I like to achieve them. I
All right.
really do.
I like it, man. I'm super excited to chat with you today. Just
Thank you. Glad to be here.
everybody wants to know kind of how you have come into landing 2 talks in such a short amount of time, and it sounds like you set a goal and you did it. And so we're going to jump into that. For those of you who are just tuning in and haven't seen an interview before, I'm Cesar Cervantes. I'm founder of TEDx Masterclass. I've got a couple of TED Talks myself. You can check them out. And I feel like Phillip too. There's a lot of things that I'm just into. Like I got my hands in a lot of stuff, but I love the TED stage. I love its mission, and I love hearing about how people come to the stage and tell their stories. And so my first question, Phillip, is why TED? Like why was that a goal you set for yourself to get on that stage?
I've seen TED Talks throughout just YouTube in the past, and they've just been inspiring just to hear how they've been able to change somebody's life and what people can learn from it. And so I've experienced a lot of life, I like to believe, within my 25 years, or at least I've experienced a lot of life for 25 years. And I have a lot of people who's always saying, like, oh my gosh, you should be a public speaker, all this type of stuff. And I'm not really in the place to go on tour right now, but I was just like, you know what? I Why not do a TED talk? And so I think it was like right before the pandemic hit. I was like, you know what? That's going to be a goal. I didn't necessarily have a definitive time of when I wanted to give one, but it was such a goal that I put it as my screensaver on my phone. So I really manifested it. So I'm big on manifestation. So every single day when I looked at my phone, there's an empty TEDx stage up there. I should have photoshopped myself on this stage now that I think about it. But yeah, so I really manifested that, and so that's really why I wanted to give it a TED talk.
I did the same thing. I put it on my
Really?
on my desktop background, and I was like, I want to be there, and I did it. And there
Right.
was a couple other things on there, and so yeah, I mean, it works. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not very like, I don't know what the word is. Like I'm not very like fluffy in my thinking, but the
Mhm.
way that I think about the sort of manifestation is about visualizing and reminding yourself that that goal is ever present. And what I think is that I'm much more likely to take those daily steps towards that goal when the visualization is present.
It's funny because that's kind of how the talk that I told you I'm recording today. I talk about like daily non-negotiables and things that you have to do every single day to get to your goal. But that's so funny that you say that. But I completely agree 100%.
That's awesome. And so I want to give a shout out to Amber and Dina. They just joined us as well. Hey y'all, thanks for joining. Pop
Hey,
in
you
any
guys.
questions you have if you in the Q&A, and Phillip or myself will answer whatever you got going on. So okay, so tell us about did you want to land more than one? Oh,
No, actually. So my goal was to really only just land one TED talk. And at this point, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I kind of want to go for a third this year.
nice.
um, so it all started again before the pandemic, and I had applied for 3 TED talks here in my state, and I didn't necessarily know how the process worked at that point. And the 3 that I applied for, they all liked my idea, but I wasn't qualified to speak
Hmm,
because 2 of them I had to be faculty, staff, or student or alumni
ah,
of the university. And
gotcha.
then the other one I had to be a resident of the city. And so I didn't even realize there were qualifications like that. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll try again eventually. Um, and so then I believe it was, if I'm being honest with you, you had a master class within the Facebook group, and I hopped on there, and you were sharing your ways of how to find talks.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how I went about that, and I was a lot more aggressive during the pandemic, and I believe I applied for about 10 to 15 within a 10-day span.
Good for you.
Um, thank you. And so then I heard back from two of them within literally not 24 hours from applying, but 24 hours of each other. It took about a month and a half for them to get back to me. No, I lied. 2.5 months. It took like
Okay.
2.5 months for them to get back to me. And so one of them, they contacted me, and they were like, hey, we want to, we like your idea and whatnot. And so then I signed the contract. And then the next day I woke up from another email from another event. They're like, hey, we want to have you speak. I was like, oh, shoot, two. I was like, I was just trying to get one. So I was extremely happy to do a second one. So that's how I ended up with two.
And how are you doing with writing two different talks and prepping for two different talks? Because they're not the same thing, right?
So here's the crazy thing. I applied for the same talk for all 15 applications because I was like, I'm going to shoot my shot and one of these is going to go in. So if, I get rejected from 14, one of these, they're going to take me. And it's just that simple. So the first one that I signed, they took my original idea. And so we actually have not even started developing that talk yet because we're doing weekly meetings. They have coaches that are going to be helping us starting, I believe, next week.
Hmm.
And then we start moving on piece by piece from there. The talk that is happening that I signed second, that's happening sooner, that's a virtual talk. They actually said, hey, we want to, we like your idea, but we want to adjust it a little bit. So I was like, oh,
Hmm.
thank God.
That's
Uh,
good.
so I was like, I don't have to really worry about too much about, you having the same talk. So I was upfront with them about it. I said, hey, I want to be completely honest with you. I applied for multiple talks with this same
Right.
idea.
Right.
And he said, okay, cool. And so we sat down on the phone just like on Zoom call how we are right now, and we discussed for maybe like 30 minutes, and we adjusted to the talk for it to be able to fit that theme.
Hmm.
So that's how I was able to separate the two. So and then from there to answer the second part of your question, um I haven't started memorizing or writing the second one, so that's a lot of pressure off me. Now the
Hmm.
second one, they only gave me a month to be able to memorize it, and
Oh, wow.
I'm not gonna hold you. uh it's been a struggle because I was not prepared to memorize it within a month. And
Yeah.
so I believe that it's been a lot easier because it's dear to me. It's a life story alongside with lessons, so it's
Yeah.
not crazy difficult to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, your story is uncommon to get two offers with 10 to 15 applications. I want to highlight two things. First is you just got to put it out there, and the more applications that you start applying to, the easier it gets because you start to understand your idea and how to communicate your idea. And you obviously did a good job of doing that. So, but we have to know, because it's an unlikely story, you get two offers, you applied to 10 to 15 of them. What did you say? How did you communicate it? What was the thing? What were you thinking about when were you putting yourself in the shoes of the people on the other side in the committee? Talk to us about that.
So when I was applying to all these different talks, well, first of all, I'll say each application is different, and you know this, but many people don't understand that each application is different whenever you do, whenever you apply. So some of them, I gave them literally just a bio of myself, my name, and a one-liner of what my talk was about.
Hmm.
Some of them I actually had to give them an entire 5 to 10 minute video of what a short version of my talk.
Right.
And so I just went with whatever application what they asked for. And so I had pre-recorded a video, and I put it on an unlisted YouTube link. I think it was like 5 minutes of what I wanted my talk to be about. And so I just came up there with the energy, charisma, and just had the confidence in myself. I wasn't even honestly prepared to do that. Again, it was so spontaneous. I just popped over my computer and I just started talking. I think I attempted 3 times to record it. And then I just say, you know what,
It
I'm
was
just gonna,
authentic. It was you.
yeah, I'm just going to
Just did your
submit it
thing.
because
Yeah.
I can't overthink it.
So
I just went with it.
give me like the 30-second elevator pitch of what the talk is.
Okay. So the one that I did was micro decisions make a macro impact on our lives. Every single day we make a good 10,000 decisions, and essentially all the decisions that we make, whether we realize it or not, is from emotions. It deals with how we're feeling. So if a person is able to control their emotional intelligence throughout, every day, they're going to be able to control the small decisions that they make, all throughout the day. And then that's going to control, not necessarily control, but it's going to have a huge outcome on your life.
Right. All right. I like that. Micro
Thank you.
decisions create macro outcome, essentially.
And those are also dependent on your emotions, your feeling, your emotional intelligence.
I love it. And so
Thank
did
you.
2 other sites. That's great. Catherine
Yeah.
just joined. Hey, Catherine, good to see you
Hey,
here.
how's it going?
We're here with Phillip. Catherine's in our masterclass as well, and she's killing it.
Lovely.
Her idea is tremendous. I would share it, but it's like it's so unique that like I don't want it stolen. Like that kind of that heavy.
Understood. Understood. Can't wait for
Okay,
the talk.
we got a question from Amber. She says, "Can we talk about crafting the topic when applying so that it gets accepted?" So, Amber, it's a good question. It's a question I get a lot. It's sort of like, is there a topic that's going to get me that's more likely to be selected? And I would challenge you to think about the thing that's most authentic to you and that you have most credibility in, rather than what will get selected, because that is what will get selected. When Phillip says, I'm going to go on and I'm going to do my thing and I'm going to be me, and he's got a great idea attached, that's the thing that's compelling. However, what I will say is that there are some things that will get, a no, like, and it's because they're not aligned with the TED mission, right? And so, and what a TED Talk is. So, for example, a TED Talk is not a lecture. It's not just one big personal story. It's about big ideas, right? It's about spreading big ideas that could have impact on the world and potentially change the world. Ideas worth spreading, right?
I want to add one more thing to that
Yeah.
as well. Um, the thing that also helps is making sure that it aligns with the theme.
Yep.
So, um, there were some applications that I just did not submit because I was just like, there's no way that I can finesse my topic to this theme. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to waste their time or my time. So don't just apply to any application, any event. Make sure that your topic is going to have, it's going to fit in their theme, because they're just going to reject you if it
I
doesn't.
think that's right. I think it's good advice to say, like, if you are applying for a job, you would want them to know that you know about their site, that you know what they're going for. Now, you could kind of augment your idea to fit in the theme if you wanted to. And the reason I say I'm a big advocate for putting stuff out there and applying and seeing what comes back, because the last site that I applied to, I didn't get what I applied to, but they said we're doing this other thing, and we think you'd be a good fit for that one. So you never know. They might have another event that you were not even aware of. So
That's true.
something to keep in mind. The other thing I'll say that automatically gets folks a no in the selection process, and I've sat on several selection committees, is if the committee gets the inclination that this is just about promoting you, that this is just about a business decision, and I think it'd be a great platform for my book. It could be, but you have to lead with what you're giving to the audience. What is the idea worth spreading? What could help change the world, right? So that's what you have to lead with. Did that help, Amber? Let us know. Okay, so Phillip, so you get these 2 talks,
Mhm.
you got this great idea, you're just you're authentic, you apply, you put it out there. And now, so did you film one already or you're about to?
Yes, so I'm actually filming my first one tonight. I guess
Oh,
you can say the first draft.
okay.
Hopefully it'll be the first and last draft for it. But we have a month of Lead Room just in case I need to record another
Are
version
they
of it. But
both virtual or just this one's virtual?
so this one's virtual, and then the one in July is going to be in person.
Okay. So for those, and there was questions too on the TEDx speaker page about when are we going live? When is TED doing? They're already doing it, and there are folks that have events planned to be fully in person this summer and coming fall. So
Yeah.
it's happening. That shift is happening. I actually like the virtual ones as well. Like I'm not going to knock them because you can get it just the way that you want it. And the truth is that any piece of content that you put out there is also about, uh, how are you promoting it? How are you circulating it? Is it something that aligns with other things that you do? So, um, you know, I like virtual talks, but I know some folks are like waiting for the big events, and I get it.
Honestly, I really like the idea of having virtual talk because I feel as if, especially for a first time speaker, it allows you to be as comfortable as possible. Because I'm going to assume that being on a TEDx stage can be very intimidating, but when you do it virtually, you can be in the comfort of wherever you want to. I've seen a lot of talks in honestly people's kitchens, their offices. I'm going to go to a studio later to record mine, but it's going to be comfortable for you. And then once you kind of get that first one of experience, then go for the stage or go for the stage
Yeah.
first.
I totally agree. And there, TED Global has done virtual talks with big names in their house. And so it's not like you wouldn't be in good company. All
Right.
right, we've got a couple other questions.
Okay.
Well, Amber wanted us to clarify real quick. So she said, uh, if you have an idea, how do you give it that unique twist or spin so it gets accepted? I see what you're saying. So the way that I think about, because an idea is really rare that just the idea is totally unique, right? So there could, like, your topic could have been covered by a bunch of people, but how do you give it your spin, like your twist, your into that, right? That's a tough question to answer, except that I would say it's in story, and only you are going to have your stories, right? And the story will ultimately lead to a point that has probably been made before. But what's going to make it unique is that it's your experience. And so I think if I had to give like one piece of advice to folks when they're applying, when they're writing their talk, the quality of a talk often hinges on how good the stories are that you tell within your talk. Would you add anything, Philip?
Nah, I would completely agree about that. There's just so many lessons that we learn throughout life, and we learn the same thing all the time. But there's some lessons that just stick out to us a little bit more because of the story. And those are the ones that we'll always take with us for a lifetime. So yeah, definitely stories are, like you said, they're unique to each person. And say, for example, if we both were teaching the same lesson, but somebody came from the same background as you did, they're going to more than likely and memorize, or not memorize, but have a really strong memory of your talk rather than mine because they connect to you more. And
Mm,
so that's really what it is.
I think that's right.
By the way, we
So,
also have questions in the Zoom chat as well.
okay, yeah, Catherine's got one here in the Q&A. She said, at what point did you feel confident that you are good at this? I think I'm going to say this is for you. So I'll let you lead. You applied to 15, you
Real
got
quick, what do you mean
to.
by good at this?
Yeah, what do you, Catherine, you could clarify for us, but I think she's meaning like good at the application process. But did you get more confident at like every application that you submitted?
Uh, I'm gonna not really because I did all of them within the 2 day span.
Hmm.
I did all of them within a 2 day span. So I wouldn't really say the confidence grew. Now, I would say the confidence did grow, however, once I realized I got two within 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Once that happened, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm on top of the world. Let's go for a third one. And so that's when my confidence started growing when I got that first one. It was like, okay, I can actually do this. So that's when my confidence grew when I first saw that email.
And for me, Catherine, I think for me it was about public speaking. So my story is that I started off as a stand-up comedian when I was really young. Like in college, I was, 19 and got on stage, and right away I started getting booked. And so, but I was in theater growing up, so like the stage was always very familiar to me. But public speaking, in terms of like being a speaker, is it's a very different beast. And when I started to think about doing speaking engagements, because I started to get invited to do stuff, and I thought, all right, well, I'll just, I know how to be on stage. But I found out very quickly it's not the same thing. And so for me, it was about learning from people who were great at it. And so I'm a big advocate for getting coaching, for seeking expertise, for people who have been doing this their whole life, right? And so I found someone who worked at Colorado College. Her name's Sarah Hinkle, and she's an amazing coach. She's taken her speech and debate teams to national titles. And she, you talk to her for 10 minutes about something, and I learned like that. And I'm just like, wow, it's so clear to me. It makes so much sense. And I fell in love with another side of being on stage. And yeah, I think if you don't get a little nervous every time you get on stage, you're not human, right? So, but the confidence builds, and it grows every time you do it. And so I would just say, it's like anything else. You just got to keep at it and learn from the greats.
There was one thing you said that also made me realize that helped me grow my confidence as I'm preparing for this still right now, was realizing and understanding that this is my story, and nobody else can tell my story better than me. This
Mm.
isn't like a test that I'm studying for, that I'm reading through a textbook. I'm like, oh my gosh, did I memorize chapters 3 through 10 correctly? I don't know, but I know my life story. Nobody else is going to know your life story better than you do. So it's really just a matter of telling, the world who you are and the lessons about your story. And I think that's also that has, helped with the confidence when preparing for these talks.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's great feedback. Like, you're again, it goes back to story, because nobody has your experience. And so whether or not people approve or like it or whatever, nobody can take away your story, right?
Exactly.
And so you own it.
Right.
Okay, good. And then Amber asked too, how do you find TEDx talks to submit to? Well, Amber, I've got a list. I can send it to you. Just shoot me a message on the TEDx speaker page. And there there is a way, if you go into TED.com/events, you can look at all of the events that are happening. There's like 3,000 a year that happen through TEDx alone. And you sort of reverse engineer it. They don't have an easy way to look at everything you could apply to. And that's probably intentional, because originally TEDx sites were built for local engagement, and a lot of sites still focus on local engagement. But essentially, you would look at all the sites that are active and then go to their page, sign up for their list, see if they're accepting applications. And Philip reminded me the other day of another tool that we use. It's Google Alerts. So you can just go to register a Google alert for you, and you could just put in TEDx speaker application.
Mhm.
And essentially, every time something pops up on Google that has that exact wording, you'll get a notification about it.
I get that
And
every single day.
yeah, are
Mhm.
they coming all the time?
Yeah, I got one this morning, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really? Which
Now
site
it
is it?
won't always be an actual application. So
Mhm.
I think the email that I got this morning, it just said TEDx speaker so and so did blah blah blah. So it sometimes may not give you all the words TEDx speaker application, may just give you
Mm.
TEDx speaker, but it still gives you enough that you'll see this update every single day.
Nice. Okay. And I think there's actually settings where you can set it up if you want it to be those exact three
Yeah,
words or not. Anyway, it's Google.
there
I'm
should
sure you can
be.
do a bunch of stuff. So, all right. I hope that helps, Amber. Okay. So, Philip, what's your hope that, I mean,
It
that
is
these
awesome.
talks do for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is are you shooting for like 50 million views and then your life changes, or, what's your hope for these?
My hope is that just somebody's life changes from this. I have a brand, a personal brand. I go by Phenom, preparation, hustle, education, network, overcome mentality. That's what it stands for. And essentially, I just love helping people. And I just want at least one person to watch these talks, and they just have a complete like, oh my gosh moment, and they're able to make a complete change in their life. If it gets 50 million views, amazing. But if nobody's impacted within those 50 million views, then what's the point of having those views? So
Mhm.
I just really want people to watch the talks and be able to learn from it, and just be able to change their life from it.
I love it, man. Well,
Thank
when
you.
they go live, you post on the page, and we'll do
Oh,
everything
most
we can to
definitely.
spread the message for you as well.
Thank you.
Is there one last question? Did you derive, where did the inspiration come for this idea? Like, is it a moment in your life? Is there, a mentor or somebody that you look up to? Like, what is it?
For this was I my brain just be working. I've honestly it's like shower thoughts.
Fair enough.
It may have come from me just thinking in the shower of just life. It could have come from me reading a book, and I just started connecting the dots, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then I thought about my life story. There's honestly no telling, because I have a list of TED Talk ideas that I've been writing down every time I think of something. Like, oh my gosh, this could be a good talk. And I have
Hmm.
no idea when I wrote this one down, but this was just like the first one that I wanted to do. So honestly, there's no telling, but random stuff in life.
Yeah, sometimes that happens. And I think the lesson learned too is have a notebook and a pen nearby for these things, right? Because you
Yeah.
never know when lightning is going to strike. So
Yeah.
that's beautiful, man. I appreciate it. Well,
No
I want to
problem.
tell our viewers as well that the next session of the TEDx Masterclass starts next week, and we've still got a few seats left. So if you're interested, shoot me a message. I'll send you the link. And then tomorrow, I'm doing a free workshop, which is posted on the TEDx speaker page. And so if you want to join, I'm going to be talking about digging more into how you submit those applications, what'll really stand out in those applications, what makes for a viral TED Talk, and just how to kind of piece it all together. So it's a little mini workshop. Philip took one, it sounds like, and he got some good
I
ideas for how
did.
to apply.
Right.
So
I have two talks now, so I will highly suggest doing it. I will highly suggest doing it.
thanks, Philip. I appreciate you. And we got to do some outro music. So maybe just one more time, give me a little, something. Okay, come on. End of the. I've never done that before in my life. I don't know what happened. Philip, thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate it.
No
We'll see you
problem. It
all.
was a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, cheers, man.
See
See
you
ya.
guys.